By the riverside, a few bullies were harassing a lone trainee, and the noise from their scuffle ended up disturbing our male lead, Lord 16. With one swift throw, a stone shot from his hand with the force of a cannonball. The moment those bullies recognized who he was, they were so terrified they ran for their lives. Just as Lord 16 picked up his school bag to leave, a letter floated down from the sky. On the other side of a town, the rich heiress Asuka also received an identical letter. Her maid brought her a drink, and Asuka suspiciously asked if anyone had entered her room while she was away. The maid replied that no one had, but Asuka wasn't convinced. She activated her supernatural power and glared at the maid, who quickly explained that only the young miss held the room key, so entry was impossible. Though they didn't know who sent the letter, the locked room delivery method piqued Asuka's curiosity. Meanwhile, a girl named Yao, who had the power to communicate with animals, also received a similar letter. When she opened the envelope, a blinding light burst out, and in an instant, all three, Lord 16, Asuka, and Yao, were transported into a consciousness realm and dropped into a lake. After climbing ashore, the three introduced themselves to each other. Finding no one else nearby, they decided to question a rabbit-eared girl hiding nearby. Lord 16 charged straight at her, causing a crow to leap into a plane, but the rabbit-eared girl was quick on her feet. Working together, the trio managed to subdue her. This girl, named Black Rabbit, introduced them to this place called Little Garden, revealing that she was the one who summoned them to this realm. Her goal was to invite them to participate in the gift games, where players use special powers, called gifts, gained from gods, demons, spirits, and other mythical beings as wagers in high-stakes battles. The higher the stakes, the greater the prize, but to claim it, players must fulfill the Game Master's conditions and win. The so-called Game Masters are the ones who manage the gift games, and the organizations within this world are known as communities. To survive here, joining a community is the only option. To help them understand, Black Rabbit immediately hosted a sample gift game, asking the three to choose one card each, J, Q, or K, from a deck of 52, with only one chance each. She explained that since her ears and eyes were linked to Little Garden's core, she could detect any cheating instantly. Because they were newcomers, there would be no stakes for this match. Instead, if Lord 16 won, she would grant him one wish. A contract book appeared, listing the participants and the rules. Before the game started, Lord 16 asked to inspect the cards. Then, when it began, he was the first to go. With a confident smack, he flipped the cards on the table. All three managed to get J, Q, and K respectively. Though his actions seemed like cheating, the central system confirmed it as valid. Lord 16 revealed that he had memorized the entire card sequence earlier. Upon winning, he asked Black Rabbit if this world was fun, to which she replied enthusiastically, promising it would be far more exciting than the outside world. Black Rabbit then took the trio to her community. Just as they greeted some kids, they turned around and found Lord 16 had vanished. Asuka explained he'd run off to see the end of the world, driving Black Rabbit into a fury so intense her hair turned pink as she dashed off after him. Meanwhile, a young boy guided Asuka and Yao through the community, explaining that it housed beings of all kinds, gods, demons, spirits, beastmen, and humans alike. As they sat down for a meal to discuss more, a shady man arrived, clearly trouble, introducing himself as the leader of another community. At the same time, Black Rabbit reached the domain of the gods, worried Lord 16 might be sweet-talked into a dangerous game. But when she found him, not only had he accepted a challenge, he had also angered the water god. The deity declared that if Lord 16 could survive the upcoming season, he would be recognized as the victor. Black Rabbit was in shock. How could a human dare challenge a god? Yet, Lord 16 not only prevailed, but also earned a sacred water sapling, freeing them from buying water from other communities. Sensing that Black Rabbit was hiding something important, Lord 16 asked why she had summoned them. Just then, Loli clung to him simply because a girl looked at him for too long. After defeating the water god, Lord 16 could tell from instinct that Black Rabbit's community was extremely weak, which she reluctantly admitted. She confirmed they were facing a crisis. In this world, communities, no matter their size, functioned like nations. 2.5 years ago, Black Rabbit's community flag still flew proudly in the East District, but it was wiped out overnight by an enemy. A demon lord had targeted them with an unrefusable challenge. Those forced to participate lost their flag and their name, and now none of the core members remained. The only ones left to compete in gift games were the newcomers and Black Rabbit, while over 120 children under the age of 10 struggled to survive. Despite their hardships, the children made the long journey daily to fetch water and clung to life with resilience. Their only hope was to reclaim their name and flag from the demon lord one day and rebuild their community. That's why they needed someone strong like Lord 16. Moved by this, he agreed to help, declaring it his duty to restore the community's glory. Meanwhile, the shady leader from before said it would be better to join his community than one so pathetic even a dog would walk away in pity. They had already achieved 8 consecutive victories, completely dominating the region, and once again the idea of recruiting Kuro Usagi and Asuka was brought up, but Asuka firmly rejected it. Both Asuka and Kasukabe explained their reasons for refusal. Kasukabe said she only came here to make friends, while Asuka, who had had once been the wealthy heiress of a financial conglomerate, had abandoned her life of luxury just to experience real life. But Asuka also sensed something was wrong. If Badcoin wasn't a demon lord and couldn't force others into matches, then how was he still constantly getting other communities to compete with him? Using her gift, Asuka forced the truth out of Badcoin. He had been abducting women and children from the opponent communities and using them as hostages to force their members into matches. To make the assimilated communities obey, he would pick out some children as hostages and kill them the very day they were captured, even going as far as to destroy the bodies to eliminate all evidence. Once Asuka released her control, Badcoin could no longer hold back, transformed into a tiger, and lunged to attack, but Kasukabe easily subdued him. Then Asuka declared that they would challenge Badcoin to a gift game. When Kuro Usagi heard about this, she exploded at the two of them, calling them idiots, and pinned her last hope on the male protagonist. To prepare for the match, Kuro Usagi decided to take the three of them to a commercial community called Thousand Eyes to have their gifts appraised. Just as they were approaching the appraisal center, a little loli suddenly rushed out and jumped on Kuro Usagi, rubbing her face against her. The girl, named Shirayasha, turned out to be an officer from Thousand Eyes, currently residing in the fourth gate. Kuro Usagi explained to the others that the gate numbers represented a region's proximity to the city center and its power level. The smaller the number, the closer and stronger. Their own community was at the farthest edge, the seventh gate. The godhood previously defeated by the male lead in his battle with the water god also belonged to Shirayasha's domain. Upon hearing that Shirayasha was one of the unmatched organizers below the fourth gate in the eastern district, the male lead immediately challenged her to a match. Shirayasha, a playful person, readily accepted, and soon everyone was transported to the game arena. The scene before them stunned everyone. The male lead quickly conceded, saying he'd rather attempt a trial instead. Shirayasha then pointed to a creature in the distance and announced it as their opponent. The objective was to ride on the creature's back and complete a lap around the lake. Kasukabe was the first to step forward, but the creature mocked her, claiming it would be shameful if he couldn't shake off such a tiny girl, and thus staked his pride on the game. Kasukabe staked her life in return. As the game began, the creature shot into the sky, flying toward the mountain range. Given its speed and the mountain winds, the temperature quickly dropped to below -10 degrees. As they passed the mountains, the male lead realized Kasukabe's gift was far more than just communicating with animals. The physical pressure from such intense flight would have knocked out a normal person. Clutching the wooden carving on her chest, Kasukabe remembered how she had been unable to walk as a child, and how, after wearing the carving her father gave her, she miraculously stood up. The creature dashed past the finish line, and just as victory was about to be declared, the exhausted Kasukabe fell. But the wooden carving on her chest began to glow, and she slowly descended through the air, walking down as if on invisible steps. The perceptive male lead realized that her gift allowed her to absorb the traits of other creatures. Shirayasha asked if her gift was innate, and Kasukabe explained it came from the carving her father gave her. To celebrate the potential return of Kuro Usagi's community, Shirayasha gave each of them a gift card. The cards could store a gift's abilities and also identify the name of one's gift. After winning the cards, they returned to their community, only to find the once thriving land now barren after just 2.5 years. Fortunately, the male lead had acquired a water sapling. When Kuro Usagi planted it, endless water began to flow from it, quickly filling the surroundings. Now, they had water not just for survival, but also to support future growth. Even without joining gift games, they could still steadily rebuild their community. That evening, while the girls were bathing, Badcoin sent his underlings to launch a surprise attack, but the male lead had been waiting. He flicked a small stone, causing a massive noise that woke everyone. As they rushed out to check on the situation, the attackers, seeing how strong the male lead was, began to believe the rumor about him defeating the water god. One of them stepped forward, begging him to win the gift game against Badcoin. He explained that their people had suffered long under Badcoin's tyranny, backed by a demon lord, and with hostages in his hands, no one dared to resist. But the male lead revealed the cruel truth, that the hostages had already been killed and their bodies destroyed. Despite the hatred for Badcoin, he promised that others would avenge them, because he was a man who had vowed to defeat every demon lord. Afterward, the male lead designed a banner stating, "Anyone troubled by demon lords and their allies, come see me." The others warned him not to joke around. If that slogan spread, demon lords would target him. But now was the time to grow their community, and they didn't even have a name or a flag yet to negotiate or form alliances. Therefore, the male lead had to carry that burden now, to surpass the former leader. Without a name or banner, they would use the leader's name to rally others, not just to represent him, but to symbolize a community dedicated to defeating demon lords. As long as they won tomorrow's match, they could attract real talent, people better than the old companions who had left. The male lead then asked for the man's choice. The man told him that one of his former comrades would be the prize in the gift game held by Thousand Eyes. That person carried the title of former demon lord. The male lead promised that if they won tomorrow, he would rescue that comrade. If they lost, he would leave the community. 2.5 days later, they arrived at the competition venue. Strangely, there were fewer participants than expected. Most games use stages as arenas, but this one was in a tree-filled residential zone. They soon discovered that the trees had been blessed by demonic energy. Kuro Usagi found the contract nearby. The win condition was to defeat Badcoin using a specified weapon. Badcoin had manipulated the rules to suit himself and limit Asuka's team's powers. The game began. Kasukabe used nearby animals to sense that the golden-haired enemy was hiding in a nearby house. Entering the eerie house, they found that not only had Badcoin transformed into a white tiger, but also, the moment had pushed everyone past their limits, and it became clear that the enemy had received the vampire seed's blessing. As chaos erupted, the corrupted Badcoin struck first, charging toward the group. Phinia instinctively tried to activate her gift, but due to the existing contract, her ability failed to respond. Kasugabe leapt forward with his sword to shield everyone and shouted for the two to escape. Phinia wanted Kasugabe to run first, but he insisted on staying to fight. In the end, Phinia used her gift anyway, and Kasugabe, still holding her, got pulled along as they fled. Outside, Kasugabe explained everything. Badcoin was a tiger that had learned human form, further mutated through the Demon King's power, and had now become something monstrous after receiving a vampire's blessing. Just then, Kasugabe, heavily wounded, collapsed. Phinia grabbed the silver sword and set off to defeat Badcoin herself. Along the way, she recalled what Black Rabbit once told her. Her gift, Twilight Glow, was like a raw stone yet to be polished. With time and willpower, it could become a power of dominion, perhaps even one that could control other blessings. She picked up an oil lamp from the ground, set the house on fire, and deliberately provoked Badcoin to draw him outside. Once in the open, Phinia used her power to control the now mutated demonic vines and tried to bind him, but Badcoin easily broke free and charged her. Meanwhile, Black Rabbit took the injured Kasugabe back to their community for treatment. With Badcoin's community officially disbanded, Kasugabe returned their flag and name, announcing that defeating the Demon King was now the official goal of the formerly nameless community. After defeating Badcoin, everyone returned home. Kasugabe received treatment, though recovery would take time. Black Rabbit learned that the male lead was planning to enter a gift game to reclaim the once-lost vines. But since she had the role of judge, she could not participate. As she left, the male lead called out to someone hiding outside the window. A blonde loli, who had previously bestowed a gift on Badcoin, suddenly burst in and attacked the male lead. Hearing the commotion, Black Rabbit rushed back. The loli admitted that his counterattack had been powerful, but said it was more fun when he went all out from the start. The male lead replied he had actually held back. Black Rabbit intervened and stopped the fight, revealing that the loli was actually their former ally, Leticia. Leticia had helped Badcoin only to test their strength to see if the community was strong enough to be entrusted with the future. She had come now because she couldn't bear to see them suffer, and had hoped to convince Black Rabbit to disband the community. But things had spiraled too far. Elsewhere, a man approached Shiroyasha. He was the leader of the Perseus community, and he wanted Chi-Yun to cancel Leticia's gift game because he had found a better buyer. Leticia, being his property, had clearly gone to the nameless community, and to prevent such behavior in the future, he planned to attack them. Sorry, my hand slipped, he said sarcastically. Are you copying someone, boy? You mad? No. If Shiroyasha's Demon King acted, I'd be dead too. But before I die, I'll definitely tear this place apart. Back with the male lead, Leticia told him her gift game had been cancelled. Phinia suggested hiding her, but Leticia refused, knowing that her visit had surely been discovered and could make them enemies of every community under Chi-Yun. To test the male lead's strength, they held a practice duel. Rules were simple: throw spears at each other, and missing meant losing. Leticia threw first, but at the crucial moment, Black Rabbit saved her, then used her gift card to scan Leticia. Just as she suspected, Leticia had lost her godhood and now only retained her vampire gift. As Black Rabbit tried to ask more, a red beam suddenly shot from the sky. She recognized it as Gorgon's power and shouted for Phinia to dodge, but Phinia froze. Leticia shoved her out of the way and was struck, turning into stone. She was then taken away by people from the Perseus community, who informed everyone that Leticia would be sold outside Xiangting. Black Rabbit was shocked. Vampires couldn't survive sunlight outside Xiangting, but the buyer didn't care. Furious, Black Rabbit exploded with rage and summoned the Spear of Thunder. The male lead tried to calm her, reminding her the other party was from Chi-Yun. They decided to go find their leader. At Chi-Yun's branch, we return to the opening scene. Black Rabbit demanded an apology for the destruction Perseus caused. The despicable man asked for proof. Black Rabbit replied he could just lift Leticia's petrification. Problem solved. He refused, saying she must stay stone until delivery. He even accused Black Rabbit Rabbit's side of possibly stealing her. The man then revealed that Leticia had traded her blessing to the Demon King just to return to the nameless community. If they wanted her back, Black Rabbit had to become his slave. The male lead raged and tried to leave, pulling Black Rabbit with him, but she wouldn't budge. Furious at the man's insults, Fania used her ability to control him. Shiroyasha stepped in to end the farce. Black Rabbit, visibly shaken, said she'd consider the proposal. Back at home, the male lead opposed the idea. Then the now-recovered Kasugabe entered. He said the situation had been explained to him and asked, wasn't there any way to save Leticia without sacrificing Black Rabbit? Black Rabbit answered, there was. They could challenge Perseus, but first they had to win 2 gift games to earn the right to challenge them. At that moment, the male lead rushed in, saying he got a hint from Shiroyasha, then placed 2 bags on the table. Meanwhile, the man was still fantasizing about making Black Rabbit his slave when suddenly she appeared before him holding the bags. What's this? He asked. This is proof of the legendary challenge qualification. Could it be, isn't 7 feet tall exactly here to fight Black Rabbit? If that's the case, then challenge Perseus. Welcome. Dozens of weapons may try to defeat us, but I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. I really don't have time, so if you're ready, come on. Looks like it won't be that easy, not until the snake. No, it seems like the water god's weapon might be better. No matter. I'll fight you, and I'll beat you, defeat you. As night falls, everyone begins the multiple challenges against Perseus. That's when they discover a contract on the wall, and the condition to pass is to defeat Perseus's leader, Luos. But if anyone is discovered, they lose their right to challenge the leader, though they can still participate in the game. At this moment, Kasukabe uses her ability to sense that the palace is heavily guarded by soldiers, and that the enemy possesses invisible iterations. So they're off to a tough start from the beginning. The male lead storms in first, and the enemy quickly sends soldiers to respond. A huge wave crashes into the Dragon King temple, and as the water recedes, Asuka appears. It was all part of the male lead's strategy. First, lure the soldiers out using Asuka. Then the male lead cuts through and Kasukabe steps in to find the invisible soldiers. This move was destined to succeed. The male lead smoothly sneaks inside, and Kasukabe, using her sharp sense of smell, quickly locates the invisible enemy and hands over the replicant Thesis helmet to the male lead. As soon as he puts it on and handles the pursuing soldiers, Kasukabe suddenly gets kicked away. The male lead angrily punches into the air, unleashing his turtle punches. Suspecting the enemy is wearing the true leather Hades helmet that completely conceals presence, he tries to check on Kasukabe but is kicked again. She then rises and uses a special wooden carving on her chest to emit ultrasonic waves and locate the enemy. After defeating the soldiers, the group reaches the innermost part of the palace. However, Luos refuses to fight personally, believing these nobodies aren't worth his time. Instead, he flies into the air and summons the Demon King Argol. With a crack of dark red lightning, a gigantic monster appears before them. The beast stores a foul breath in its mouth and spews it at the male lead. Wherever the breath hits, it turns to stone, be it the male lead's allies or the enemy soldiers. It doesn't just breathe, it swings a giant whip wildly. When the whip lashes at the male lead, he catches it effortlessly. When the whip strikes again, it transforms into a snake and tightly coils around him. But such an attack is easily broken by him. He tanks Argol's strike and Luos gives the order. Argol suddenly grows even larger. Seeing this only excites the male lead more. He lifts Argol and throws him aside. Luos then charges with a scythe to sneak attack, but the male lead easily dodges. Not giving up, Luos charges again, only to be kicked away. Since Luos's sword is no match, he has Argol release a stronger breath attack. The male lead dashes forward and performs a literal brain surgery on Argol. His destructive technique leaves everyone stunned. In the end, they successfully reclaim Leticia and hold a celebration. The children then notice meteors streaking through the sky. Black Rabbit explains that since Perseus lost the iteration match, he was exiled by Thousand Eyes. The falling stars represent flags being taken down. Due to an enchantment cast on a girl's skirt that revealed a mysterious zone, some angry men vowed to sneak a peek at this absolute territory. One morning, Asuka has just woken up when Kasukabe arrives with a letter from Thousand Eyes. They go find the male lead, who had been up all night reading and was just about to rest. They show him the letter. It says the North District is hosting the Fire Dragon Birth Festival with all kinds of art and numerous gift games. Black Rabbit had originally planned to hide the letter, but Kasukabe happened to find it. Such a fun festival, yet Black Rabbit tried to keep it secret, so the male lead decides to teach her a lesson. Before setting off, he leaves a note saying they've gone to the Fire Dragon Festival, and as punishment for hiding it, if she doesn't catch them by day's end, they'll leave the community. Enraged, Black Rabbit changes her hair color and rushes off to intercept them at the boundary gate. Meanwhile, on the journey, the male lead and team are told that the little garden world is 13,000 times larger than Earth's surface, and the festival is 980,000 km away. Although they can use boundary gates to travel, the cost is outrageous. Originally, the idea was to convince them to turn back, but since they've already sent the letter to Black Rabbit, there's no going back. The male lead then asks Thousand Eyes, the sender of the invitation, to take responsibility possibility. He finds Shiroyasha, who, as the inviter, admits she also considered the boundary gate issue. She tells them something else too. The so-called rulers are the guardians of Little Garden's order. Whenever a demon lord disrupts order, it's the ruler's duty to fight first. In the North District, the ruler's leader Salamandra has retired, and his position has been inherited by his 11-year-old daughter Sandra. Since there's more than one ruler in the North, some people hold hostility towards such a young leader. For this and other reasons, Shiroyasha officially entrusts the male lead with a mission, which he promptly accepts, urging everyone to head to the north. In a blink, they arrive in the North District, just as Black Rabbit catches up. The male lead quickly grabs Asuka and activates her blade, but Kasakabe is a step too slow and gets caught. After handing her over to Shiroyasha, they go after the male lead. Back at the branch base, Shiroyasha hopes Kasakabe will participate in a special gift game, which requires a gift involving story creation. The gift directory of life she inherited from her father is a perfect match for this contest. Meanwhile, after confirming Black Rabbit isn't pursuing them anymore, the male lead decides to take a stroll through the city with Asuka, who comes from a parallel world. The male lead was quite envied, especially by Asuka, who came from a post-war era unlike his modern world. And because she was born with the power to control others, she was isolated in a boarding school, living a very different life. As the two discussed the idea of someday hosting their own gift game, Black Rabbit suddenly appeared, and they both bolted instantly, but Asuka was quickly caught by Leticia. Meanwhile, the male lead was running for his life, and since the noble Black Rabbit had appeared in the lowest area of the community, it naturally caused a big commotion. The male lead challenged her to a gift game. Loser must obey any command from the winner. The coin dropped to start the game, and either side could win by grabbing the other's palm. The male lead wagered a coin, and the chase began. Elsewhere, Asuka, walking with Leticia, noticed a lone spirit and startled it, causing it to fly off. Asuka chased after it, and Leticia followed. Back with the male lead, the chase with Black Rabbit was heating up. He realized something was off. He charged too hard and flew toward a tall building. Black Rabbit leapt down, and he thought if he followed, he'd be caught, but if he stopped, he'd lose her. So, he kicked the building beside him to collapse it and block her path. But he missed her completely and put the surrounding citizens in danger. As the building fell, both he and Black Rabbit jumped up and punched the collapsing structure into dust, then grabbed each other midair. The match ended in a draw, but both still earned the right to give each other one command. Suddenly, a voice shouted at them. Kasukabe used her elephant-gifted power to jump into the sky and kicked down a golem with her strength. Then, Shiroyasha appeared and announced Kasukabe from the nameless community had qualified for the gift game finals. The details of the final and tomorrow's presentation would be explained by Sandra, the host and one of the rulers. After this, the male lead, who had been caught by the military police, was brought before Sandra for causing chaos in the city. The military insisted on punishing him severely, but he argued that he was just creating atmosphere for the festival as requested by Shiroyasha. Shiroyasha intervened, saying the judgment was up to Sandra. Sandra said since no one was injured and Shiroyasha offered to pay for the damages, they wouldn't pursue the matter. A man named Mandora was not pleased by this. As Sandra and others went to help, Mandora suddenly drew his sword and rushed forward, but the male lead blocked him with a kick. Mandora argued that allowing Nameless into the festival hurt Salamandra's image. Sandra stopped him and reminded him that they were once allies, and it was Salamandra who ended the alliance unilaterally. This wasn't the way to treat others. Even Shiroyasha stepped in, asking Mandora to stop. But Mandora accused Shiroyasha of meddling and mocked her, saying the rumors of this being a setup from the East District were deliberate. Shiroyasha explained the truth. One of the Thousand Eyes officers had prophesied that a demon lord would attack during the festival and thus needed the male lead's help. Meanwhile, Asuka had befriended the spirit, and after introducing themselves, learned the spirit was from the Pied Piper community. She planned to take the spirit to explore the exhibits. Back to the male lead, he had assumed this was just a political matter about ruler inheritance, but it turned out to be a mission to help Shiroyasha defend against the demon lord. He questioned the prophecy's reliability. Shiroyasha revealed the letter was sent by a demon named Laplace, who had the ability to know everything. If Laplace was involved, then the real mastermind was probably already identified. Mandora, frustrated, asked why they weren't naming the culprit if they knew who it was. The male lead interjected, saying they did know, but the name couldn't be said aloud, implying the culprit held a sensitive position. They suspected that some other rulers might be conspiring with the demon lord and weren't cooperating with Sandra's plans, so this possibility couldn't be ruled out. Shiroyasha swore the mastermind would be punished, and she herself would take care of the demon lord. At that time, Asuka and the spirit had arrived at an exhibition and saw a massive figure on display. Curious who made such a giant object, the spirit told her it was the Pied Piper community's creation. This figure was named Dione. Suddenly, a chilling wind blew through the exhibit hall. All the lights went out, and a voice echoed from the shadows. Rats swarmed in from every direction. Faced with their overwhelming numbers, Asuka tried using her gift, but it didn't work. Seeing that, she pulled out her gift card and summoned her silver sword, slashing at the rats, but there were far too many. Realizing their target was the spirit, she fled. Later, Asuka praised Leticia's strength, and Leticia modestly said, after all, she was a pureblood vampire and a former demon lord. A mere few tens of millions of rats were nothing. Asuka returned to the Thousand Eyes branch and soaked in the hot springs, wondering why her gift failed against the rats. It made sense it didn't work on Luos, but rats? Her spirit level should be far higher. She concluded that someone stronger than her must be commanding them. This led her to question her gift itself. Even if she could command powerful weapons, she couldn't fight like the male lead or Kasukabe. Concerned about her condition, Black Rabbit and Shiroyasha came to check on her in the bath. While Black Rabbit examined her body, Shiroyasha didn't stay idle either. After the bath, Shiroyasha gathered everyone to discuss the next day's plans. She said that Kasukabe would be participating in the gift game, and due to the commotion caused by the male lead earlier, the public now knew Black Rabbit was in the area, so she'd have to serve as tomorrow's referee. Black Rabbit agreed without hesitation. Kasukabe then asked who her opponent would be, but Shiroyasha said she couldn't reveal it yet. The only thing that could be revealed was that aside from Salamandra and the Nameless, 2 more groups had made it to the finals. So if you liked this anime and want a part 2, let me know in the comments. I'll upload part 2 right away.